Dear students, let us start a new chapter, thermal properties of matter. So basically in this chapter we are going to deal broadly with 4 topics. One is temperature and temperature scales, okay, and you can say that thermometric property, right, okay. In the next phase we will be discussing expansion, thermal expansion, okay. Next phase will be thermal conductivity, thermal conductivity. And after that we'll be having calorimetry, in which we'll also do the Newton's law of cooling and Stephen-Boltzmann law of cooling, okay, right. So let us discuss these topics in detail. So we have some temperature scales now. Temperature scales. Degree Celsius scale, okay. Degree Fahrenheit scale. Kelvin scale. Ramer scale, right. Now the lower fixed point, which is ice point, here is 0 degree Celsius, here it is 32 degree Fahrenheit, here it is 273.15, I am taking it to be 273 Kelvin, here it is 0 degree R. And the upper fixed point, which is the steam point, for Celsius scale is 100 degree Celsius, it is 212 degree Fahrenheit, it is 373 degree Kelvin, and it is 80 R, right dear students. Suppose you get a question in which they say you have to design a thermometer of your own. Now design a thermometer of your own in which 5 degree A is the ice point, and say 115 degree A is the steam point, the number of divisions being 110, and they ask you to calculate the value of body temperature on this scale, okay. This is any unknown scale, unknown arbitrary scale. This is say any arbitrary scale of your own. Suppose you become a scientist, you make a thermometer of your own, your name starts from A, just like me, you make a degree A scale, right. It is that case. So we have 100 divisions here, we have 180 divisions, we have 100 divisions here, and we have 80 divisions here, right. So the temperature conversion formula comes out to be like this: temperature in degrees Celsius minus lower fixed point divided by upper fixed point minus lower fixed point. Temperature in Fahrenheit minus lower fixed point divided by upper fixed point minus lower fixed point. Temperature in Kelvin minus steam ice point divided by, you can say obviously, the number of divisions also, okay. Then we have temperature in Ramer scale divided by lower fixed point divided by number of divisions. Temperature in arbitrary scale named after you, TA minus 5 divided by 110, dear students, okay, right. So you can, in this way you can convert Celsius to Ramer, Fahrenheit to Kelvin, Kelvin to Celsius, whatever, okay, right. Keep in mind one important thing, that at minus 40 degrees Celsius, these degree Celsius and degree Fahrenheit scale give same reading. They give same reading, okay. One important thing to remember, okay, right. Now let us understand what is a thermometric property. Now dear students, let us understand what is a thermometric property. Thermometric property, okay. See, any physical quantity which varies linearly in an ordered way with the temperature can be exploited, can be used to measure an unknown temperature. See, we have a formula. Temperature is given by xt minus x naught divided by x100 minus x naught into 100. Xt is the value of thermometric property at T degrees Celsius, value of thermometric property at T degrees Celsius. X0 is value of thermometric property at 0 degrees Celsius. X100 is the value of thermometric property at obviously 100 degrees Celsius, right? So what are the examples of thermometric properties? See, we can have many examples. Likewise, expansion of a liquid column with rise in temperature, just like mercury in a glass tube, okay? LT is the length of the liquid column at T degrees Celsius, L0 is length of the liquid column at 0 degrees Celsius, and L100 is length of the liquid column at obviously 100 degrees Celsius. Pressure exerted by a gas at constant volume, Pt minus P0 by P100 minus P0 into 100. Volume occupied by a gas at constant temperature, constant pressure, right? This may be a thermometric property. Resistance of a platinum resistance thermometer. Resistance of the platinum wire at T degrees Celsius minus resistance of platinum wire at 0 degrees Celsius divided by resistance of platinum wire at 100 degrees Celsius minus resistance of platinum wire at 0 degrees Celsius into 100. This gives the value of T degrees Celsius, right? Suppose you have a platinum wire, an ammeter, voltmeter connected to it, battery connected to it, right? And you dip that wire into an ice bath, right? At 0 degrees Celsius, you get the value as R0. You dip that wire into boiling water, you get R100. You dip that wire, that resistor, into a cup having hot tea at some unknown temperature, you get the resistance of that platinum wire to be RT. When you substitute these all values, definitely you are going to get the unknown temperature, dear students. Okay. See, after doing this, thermometric property, let us now move on to the topic, that is thermal expansion. Okay, thermal expansion. See, when you have a linear rod of length L, you change its temperature from θ1 to θ2. Suppose you heat it, it is going to expand. Again, you have a plate of area A, you heat it from θ1 to θ2, and suppose you have a solid of some volume V and you change its temperature from θ1 to θ2. Okay, see, the change in length of the rod is actually given by alpha L delta theta, alpha being the coefficient of linear expansion. Change in area for this plate is given by beta A delta theta, beta being the coefficient of areal expansion, superficial expansion, A being the initial area, delta theta being the change in temperature. And delta V is equal to, V gamma delta theta, initial volume, coefficient of cubical expansion, change in temperature. Keep in mind, dear students, that obviously when this is the change in length, the new length will become L plus delta L. New area will become original area plus definitely change in area. New volume is going to become original volume plus definitely change in volume, right? And the value of the relation between alpha, beta and gamma is actually alpha is equal to beta by 2 is equal to gamma by 3 when you have the same value of alpha for all the three directions x, y and z axis. Okay, see, if you have different values of alpha for different axes, right? See, x axis, y axis, z axis. This is alpha along x axis is different, alpha along expansion along y axis is different, alpha along z axis is different. See, so in that case, coefficient of cubical expansion is given by alpha x plus alpha y plus alpha z. Planar expansion, areal expansion for xy plane is alpha x plus alpha y. Similarly, you can write everything, dear students. Okay, right. Kindly note down, dear students. So this is the basic formula for linear expansion. Let us now discuss that what type of questions are expected in this, the case of linear expansion. Okay, let us do a variety of questions that are expected in this under this heading. Okay, see, so the first question is variation in time period of pendulum due to extension in wire, because of change in temperature. Okay, because of change in temperature, right? Serious students. So initially we have a metallic wire, bob being attached to it, initial temperature being theta1, time period being 2 pi root L by G. Suppose we heat we take the apparatus into a heater, into a heating chamber, and this length increases, it becomes L dash. We are actually ignoring the change in size of the bob. Okay, so the new time period is going to become 2 pi root definitely L plus delta L by G, right? Right. Now this is first variety of question, first variant of the question based on thermal expansion. So T dash is going to be 2 pi root L by G 1 plus definitely delta L divided by L raised to the power 1 by 2. This becomes T dash equals to T 1 plus delta L by L divided raised to the power 1 by 2. Applying the binomial approximation, we can get 1 plus delta L by 2L. On rearranging, you can get, dear students, this as delta L divided by 2L. This is the fractional change in time period, and delta L by L is alpha L delta theta. We have already understood. So this is alpha delta theta by 2. This we have already done in the chapter SHM also. Okay, dear students, right? This is one variety of question. Okay, let us discuss the second problem based on this thermal expansion, right? So, okay, expansion of an isotropic object, that is the second variety of problem. Expansion of an isotropic object. Isotropic object, right? So isotropic object is that which expands by the same amount in all the directions, which has the same alpha for all the directions, right? Now suppose you have a plate, metallic plate with two holes drilled into it. Okay, one hole has a radius A, the other hole has a radius B. The distance between these holes is actually C, the width being B, length being L. If you heat this metallic plate from theta1 to say theta2, this is whole metal and two holes of radius A and B are drilled into the metallic plate. So what happens in this case, dear students? This whole system, this whole body expands, and it is just considered like a photographic enlargement. You somehow visit a place, and you and some of your relative or some of your friends take your photograph, and that photograph comes out to be very good. You are very impressed by the photograph, and your friends say that you get the photograph framed. So you go to the photographer, get it framed. So in that photograph, your eyes, the size of your eyes, size of your body, size of your head, the distance between the eyes, everything increases. Since this is called the photographic enlargement, the small photograph is converted into a big photograph, right? It is not the case that once the size of the photograph is increased, the distance between the eyes is decreased. It is not possible at all, right? So everything increases in size. The Moppler misconception is that metal may expand and fill the hole. It never happens, right, dear students? So new length becomes L dash, right? New width becomes B dash. The distance between these circular holes becomes C dash, right? Keep in mind that the ratio of every new thing by original thing is, greater than 1. B dash by B, or it is C dash by C, or it is L dash by L, or it is B dash by B, you are going to get 1 plus alpha delta theta, alpha being the coefficient of linear expansion. Okay, dear students? So this was expansion of an isotropic object. This was one of the question based on thermal expansion. Okay. Now we are going to do the third variant, which is variation of density with rise in temperature. Variation of density with rise in temperature. With rise in temperature. Okay. This is variation of density with rise in temperature, dear students. So you know that density is actually mass over volume. When you heat a substance, its density changes because its volume changes. We don't expect a change in mass of the body, right? So rho dash is equal to m divided by, what is the new volume? Original volume 1 plus gamma delta theta. So this is rho dash. Mass by volume is rho divided by 1 plus gamma delta theta. Rho dash is equal to rho. See, this formula is always valid. We expect this formula to be valid everywhere and always. But we can have the approximate formula also. Binomial approximation, rho dash becomes rho 1 minus gamma delta theta if value of gamma delta theta is small. So you can see that density decreases with rise in temperature. Density of solids decreases with rise in temperature. This is all about variation in density with rise in temperature. This is the formula which is applicable everywhere. This is the formula applicable when gamma delta theta is much less than 1. It is much smaller than 1. It is in fractions. Okay. The smaller the value of gamma delta theta, the more accurate, or this formula will approach to the accurate answer, right? So next question we have for thermal expansion, that is variation in upthrust with rise in temperature. Okay. Next variation of thermal expansion, next question that we can have on thermal expansion is variation in upthrust, variation in upthrust with rise in temperature. How does the upthrust vary with rise in temperature? Okay. This is variation in upthrust with rise in temperature. Okay. Suppose you immerse a solid of some volume Vs, right, in a liquid of density rho L. Suppose it is completely immersed. Okay. Density of the liquid is rho Ln subscript and volume of solid is Vs. Suppose you change the temperature from theta 1 to theta 2. Suppose you change the temperature from theta 1 to theta 2. Okay. Now, the volume is going to change, volume of solid is going to change, is going to increase, and obviously the density of liquid is going to decrease, dear students, right? So what is the change observed in the upthrust? The buoyant force acting on the block. Okay, let us say that buoyant force acting in this case be Fp. Okay, and buoyant force is given by volume of solid immersed, volume of the immersed portion of the body into density of liquid into G. In that case, the new value of buoyant force will become the new density of volume of solid, density of liquid into definitely G, dear students. Okay, let us now divide the values of buoyant force, new buoyant force, by the old value of buoyant force. This is Fb dash divided by Fp. We are going to get something that is Vs dash rho L dash into G divided by Vs rho L into G definitely. Okay, now G is going to cancel. Okay, so the new volume, you know that new volume of solid is going to be original volume 1 plus gamma of solid change in temperature, and new liquid density is going to decrease, which is given by rho L divided by 1 plus gamma of liquid delta theta. We have just learned this concept in the previous question. So Vs dash by Vs is 1 plus gamma s delta theta divided by rho L dash by rho L is 1 plus gamma L delta theta, dear students. Right, this is a formula which is applicable universally. This is always applicable. but we can make an approximate formula out of this. Let us make an approximate formula. So new value of upthrust divided by the original value of upthrust is equal to, dear students, 1 plus gamma of solid into change in temperature into 1 plus gamma of liquid into change in temperature raised to the power minus 1. Binomial approximation, power comes inside, 1 plus gamma of solid change in temperature, 1 minus gamma of liquid into change in temperature. You multiply these values, Fp dash divided by Fb, 1 plus gamma of solid into change in temperature minus gamma of liquid into change in temperature, and we know the product of these two values because it is small. Gamma is small and the product of 2 gamma will be rather smaller. Okay, so this is the variation of upthrust with rise in temperature. Coefficient of cubical expansion of solid, coefficient of volumetric expansion of liquid, dear students. Okay, kindly note down, dear students. So dear students, let us now do the another variant, which is expansion of a meter scale. Expansion of a meter scale. See, you go to a shop to buy some cloth, right? Not the ready-made cloth, rather the unstitched cloth. So the shopkeeper uses a meter rod to measure the cloth, right? Okay, but you must be knowing it that the length of the rod increases during summers. So when you buy a 1 meter cloth during summers, you are going to get some extra piece of cloth, and during winters you are going to lose some money, right? You are going to get some little less amount of cloth. Okay, so if a meter rod which is used to measure the piece of cloth, unstitched cloth, is calibrated at say some 20 degrees Celsius and the surrounding temperature say becomes 45 degrees Celsius, the length of the meter rod is going to expand, but the scale reading, but when you measure the cloth with that meter rod, you are going to say it is 1 meter, but its true value will actually be greater than 1 meter, right? Scale reading will be exactly 1 meter. Okay, scale reading will be in fact always 1 meter, but true value will be, you know, more in case of summers and true value will be less in case of winters, definitely, right? So whenever you have a meter scale, I am going to tell you a beautiful formula. When you have a meter scale and that meter scale is used to measure the length, right, dear students? If it is calibrated at some temperature, but you increase or decrease the temperature by amount delta theta, then keep in mind that the true value of the true measurement is equal to the scale reading 1 plus alpha delta theta. This is the formula. When a meter scale, a measuring instrument expands with rise in temperature and you use that meter scale to measure the length of the body at some different temperature other than the temperature at which it was calibrated. Okay. Next type of question, dear students, we can have a concept of bimetallic strip. Okay. Bimetallic strip is, dear students, used as a thermostat. Okay. Suppose you have two metals, say one is, you know, iron and other is copper. Both the metallic strips are riveted together, they are joined together, right? If you change the temperature from say theta 1 to theta 2, you heat them, right? Then this bimetallic strip, dear students, bends. How will it bend? See, it will bend with a metal having greater value of alpha on the convex side. Suppose alpha of iron, is greater than alpha of copper. So when you heat the rod, you will expect or you will see a change in shape of the rod, which is this, right? Metal with greater value of alpha bends on the outer side, right? Since iron has greater value of alpha, iron will be on the outer side, will be on the convex side. Metal having lower value of alpha will be on the concave side, dear students. Okay. Right, dear students? So this is the concept of bimetallic strip, and this bimetallic strip is actually used as a thermostat in geysers and other appliances, right? As a temperature control device. Next question can be, dear students, thermal stress. Okay, thermal stress. Next type of questions that we can have based on thermal expansion is thermal stress. So the stress developed due to change in temperature is actually called thermal stress. So you know that Young's modulus is stress divided by strain. When a strain is developed due to change in temperature, you know that the value of strain is change in length divided by original length, and that is given by alpha delta theta. So Young's modulus is going to be equal to stress divided by alpha delta theta. So we get the value of thermal stress as Young's modulus into alpha delta theta, dear students. Okay, let us do a very good question based on thermal stress. Okay, just see, suppose you have an aluminium frame here. Okay, let us discuss a good question. Suppose you have an aluminium frame. Let the length of the aluminium frame be, or length of the, this length be 1 meter. Okay, and you tie a steel wire rigidly here. Okay, and you change the temperature from say 20 degrees Celsius to 120 degrees Celsius. Young's modulus of this steel wire being 2 into 10 to the power 11, and alpha for aluminium, this is aluminium frame, this is steel wire. Okay, alpha for aluminium being 23 into 10 to the power minus 6 units being per degree Celsius, and alpha for steel being 11 into 10 to the power minus 6 per degree Celsius. So okay, when you change the temperature from 20 degrees Celsius to 120 degrees Celsius, what will be the thermal stress in the steel wire? You are asked to calculate the thermal stress in the steel wire. This is a question based on thermal stress. See, dear students, we can have two cases here. Suppose the aluminium frame expands by less amount, steel wire expands by little greater amount, then wire is going to become loose. Okay, and if aluminium frame expands by larger amount, and aluminium frame expands by some larger amount, by greater amount, and steel wire expands by some lesser amount, then the aluminium wire stretches the steel wire with it, and that will be the strain produced in the wire, right? Because both the things are expanding, so the extra change in length, right, will be the actually responsible for strain in the steel wire. So strain in steel wire will actually be, how can I see that aluminium frame is going to expand more? Because its alpha is more. Okay, so the strain developed in the steel wire will be alpha of aluminium relative to aluminium, right, minus alpha of steel into change in temperature. And now you know that Young's modulus is going to be stress divided by strain. You already know what is strain. Okay, so you can easily get the value of stress from here, dear students. This was the 7th variety of question based on thermal expansion. Okay. So the next variant of the question based on thermal expansion is, dear students, differential expansion of two solid rods. Okay, next case will be, the 8th one is differential expansion of two solid rods. Right? So suppose you have two solid rods, right? Length of one rod is L1, linear expansion alpha 1, right? And another rod of say length L2, coefficient of linear expansion alpha 2, right? The difference between their length is L2 minus L1 at some temperature, say theta 1, right? So when you heat these rods to some temperature theta 2, you want the difference between their lengths to remain same. So what will be the relation between alpha 1, alpha 2, L1 and L2, right? See, the difference between their rod, their length is L2 minus L1 at some temperature, and at some other temperature the difference between becomes S dash, difference between their lengths become S dash. This will be new length of L2 second rod minus new length of first rod, which is L2 1 plus alpha 2 into change in temperature minus L1 1 plus alpha 1 into definitely change in temperature. So we are going to get something, that something is L2 plus alpha 2 L2 into change in temperature minus L1 minus L1 alpha 1 into change in temperature. So S dash is going to be L2 minus L1 plus alpha 2 L2 minus alpha 1 L1 into change in temperature. Now S dash and S being equal, so this is actually S, this is S dash, and S being equal, this is alpha 2 L2 alpha 1 L1 into change in temperature. This both of them cancel each other. So alpha 2 L2 minus alpha 1 L1 is equal to 0, since delta theta is not 0. So alpha 2 into L2 is equal to alpha 1 into L1 is the necessary condition for differential expansion, right? Differential expansion means they should expand in such a way that the difference of their lengths always remains same. Okay, let us do the last question, dear students, based on thermal expansion, the ninth variant of the thermal expansion. Okay, so the ninth variant is, dear students, the expansion of a liquid in a container. Expansion of a liquid in a, definitely dear students, container. Okay, so we have expansion of a liquid in a container. Likewise, we have a container here, dear students, and it is filled with liquid, say up to the top. It is completely filled with the liquid. Both of them have the same volume initially, right? Now you increase the temperature from theta 1 to theta 2. Obviously this liquid is going to expand, so will the container. Obviously the liquid and container will, both of them will expand. If the container expands more, then the level of liquid is going to go down. If the container expands less and liquid expands more, then level of liquid is going to rise, and both of them expanding by the same amount, level of liquid will remain same, definitely. Okay, so when temperature is changed from theta 1 to theta 2, new volume of liquid becomes original volume 1 plus gamma of liquid delta theta, and new volume of the container becomes original volume 1 plus gamma of container into delta theta. Initial volume was same for both of them, since the container was filled with the liquid to the top. So let us now calculate the difference between the new volume of liquid and new volume of container, which is given by V gamma of liquid minus gamma of solid into delta theta. So this is actually the apparent change in volume, okay, which is V times gamma of liquid minus gamma of solid into delta theta. So the case 1 is the case 1 says, if gamma of liquid exceeds the gamma of solid, delta V apparent is going to be positive. In that case, liquid level is going to rise. Liquid level will, increase, rise. Case 2, obviously, YL less than YS, liquid level is going to decrease. Case 3 is, when liquid YL and YS become equal, then liquid level has to remain same when temperature is changed from theta 1 to theta 2. So this was all about thermal expansion, dear students. Let us now discuss the next topic, that is thermal conduction or conduction of heat. Okay. So thermal conductivity is our next topic, dear students, or thermal conduction, right? So before we learn the topics about thermal conduction, let us see the analogous relationship between current electricity and thermal properties of matter, right? There is virtually no difference between these two, okay? So we have electricity here. We are going to revise all the formula very quickly of electricity as well as thermal, okay dear students? Now see, the electric current flows whenever there is a potential difference, and electric current flows from higher potential to lower potential. Electric current flows from higher potential, flows because of potential difference, and from higher potential to lower potential. So electric current is given by potential difference divided by electrical resistance. Okay. Similarly, you have in thermal the heat current, that is the rate of flow of heat, is from higher temperature to lower temperature, right? Heat flows because of temperature difference and definitely from higher temperature to lower temperature. Heat current I, which is also the rate of flow of heat, is actually the temperature difference divided by, is actually the temperature difference divided by resistance. It is not electrical resistance, rather it is thermal resistance. That is the opposition offered by a conducting slab to the flow of heat, okay? Now, do we have the formula for electrical resistance? Yes, we have. L by sigma into A. Sigma is the electrical conductivity. Similarly, you have the thermal resistance, which is, you know, L by K into A, where K is going to be thermal conductivity, right dear students? Okay, suppose we have a question like this, that we have two resistors R1 and R2 in series. You know that their effective resistance is given by R1 plus R2, and if we have two resistors in parallel, okay, then their effective resistance is given by, you know, 1 by Rp is 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2. So will be the formula for grouping of conducting slabs, dear students. Okay, see, suppose you have two conducting slabs, right? Thermal conductivity K1, area say A, length being L1, right? Another conducting slab, thermal conductivity being K2, area again A, length being L2, right? So the effective thermal resistance will be their sum. So effective thermal resistance will be R1 plus R2. You have the respective formula for electricity and for thermal. L by K1 into area plus L by K2 into area, right dear students? Similarly, you will have the things for parallel grouping. I'm sorry, this was the third point. Similarly, you have the formula for parallel grouping of conducting slabs. K1, area being say A1, right? You have another slab having conductivity K2, area A2 and length being L, right? So 1 by Rp, for parallel combination you have to use this formula, 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2. You obviously know the value of R1 and R2, dear students, right? Sometimes we are asked that, okay, we have two conducting slabs joined at a junction. The one slab is touching the furnace, the other slab is in the ice bath, and we are asked to calculate the temperature of the junction. So, okay, in electricity also we have a formula to calculate the potential of the junction. This is point V, the potential of this point being V1, potential of this point being V2, resistance being R1, resistance being R2. Dear students, use a beautiful shortcut, that is the section formula that I have already taught in the full course of current electricity, right? So the potential at this point is given by V1 into R2 plus V2 into R1 divided by, definitely dear students, R1 plus R2, right? Suppose you have two conducting slabs, right? The temperature of this point is T1, right? Temperature of this point is T2. Temperature of the junction is T. So temperature of the junction is actually T1 into R2 plus T2 into R1 definitely divided by R1 plus R2. Okay, T1 R2 plus T2 R1 divided by R1 plus R2, right? If you have say 3 resistors, potential at this point being V1, potential at this point being V2, and definitely dear students, potential at this point being V3, potential at the junction being V0. You know the formula for V0? Yes, we know the formula for V0. The only difference in thermal is that this V becomes T because current flows, electric current flows because of potential difference, but we expect the heat current to flow because of temperature difference. Okay, dear students. So in this way, suppose we have three conducting slabs, you know, ends maintained at different temperatures. T2, another slab say T3, and we are asked to calculate the temperature of the junction. So in this way we can calculate the temperature of the junction as T1 by R1 plus T2 by R2 plus definitely T3 by R3 divided by 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2 plus 1 by R3, dear students. Okay, right. Do we have a Wheatstone bridge here? Yes, we have a Wheatstone bridge here. So let us discuss a Wheatstone bridge as we did in current electricity. The 7 point says that, okay, we have a Wheatstone bridge here, R1, R2, R3, R4, and this is R5. If R1 by R2, see, rather if in this case, let us make this R2 and this R3, it looks good, R3 by R4, okay. If R1 by R2 is equal to actually R3 by R4, then the potential at A becomes equal to potential at B. Okay, this implies that potential at A and B become equal. So no heat flows through no current flows through R5. Okay, no current flows through R5. Okay, dear students, similarly we have a Wheatstone bridge for conducting slabs, and what is that? See, we have a conducting slab, one more conducting slab, definitely another conducting slab, one more conducting slab, and a conducting slab in between. Okay, so this has a resistance R1, thermal resistance R2, thermal resistance R3, thermal resistance R4, and obviously the middle one has thermal resistance R5. So if the Wheatstone bridge is balanced, that is if R1 divided by R2 is equal to R3 divided by R4, then temperature at A must be equal to temperature at B. No heat current flows through R5, right? Okay, right, dear students, kindly note down, dear students. So dear students, this was all about the analogy between electricity and thermal and heat. Okay, let us discuss some very conventional peculiar questions based on thermal conduction, okay, which are very, very important for NEET, although they are easy, but they are very important for NEET point of view. Okay, so here comes the question 1. Suppose you have two conducting slabs, conductivity K1, length L1, area of cross section being A, and another conducting slab, and obviously another conducting slab, length L2, area being A and conductivity being K2. Now you want to replace both the slabs by a single slab having the length equal to the sum of the length of the two slabs, that is L1 plus L2, right? Area same, right? And what is the thermal conductivity? You want to know what should be the thermal conductivity of the material that is capable of replacing both the slabs alone. Okay, So that is a very simple game. The effective resistance for the two slabs is equal to the effective resistance of the equivalent slab. This is L1 by K1 into area plus definitely L2 by again K2 into area. This is L1 plus L2 divided by K effective into area, dear students. We are going to cancel the value of area from everywhere. Area is going to die. Suppose we have a special case here, that is if L1 is equal to L2 is equal to L, then you have L by K1 plus L by K2 equals to 2L divided by K effective. So in this way you can get the value of effective K as 2K1 K2 divided by K1 plus K2, which is the harmonic mean of K1 and K2. Right, dear students, this was one of the question. We can again have the effective value of K for parallel grouping, right? Let us discuss it for parallel grouping. Another question. Next question, C. You have a slab K1, area being say A, length being L, right? You place another slab having conductivity K2, area being same, right, length being same, and you want to replace this slab by another slab having area equal to 2 times A, right, and length obviously L. You want to know the effective value of thermal conductivity of that slab, which is capable of replacing both the slabs together. Okay, see, they are in parallel. So let us use the formula for parallel combination, which is 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2 is equal to 1 by R effective or RP, right? This is L by K1 into area plus L by K2 into area equals to L by K effective into definitely 2 times of area. So we can get the value of effective value of thermal conductivity as arithmetic mean of K1 and K2, right, dear students? For parallel grouping you have arithmetic mean, and for series grouping the effective value of K is actually the harmonic mean. Okay, right. Let us do one more question on effective value of K. Suppose this thermoconductivity is K1, dear students, and this material is being coated by another material of say thermal conductivity K2. The radius of the the smaller cylinder being R, radius of the bigger cylinder being 2R. Okay, now you want to replace this cylinder by a bigger cylinder. Right, now I want to replace the cylinder by a bigger cylinder, and what should be the effective K? Okay, radius being 2R, right? Now if the ends are maintained at different temperatures, this is question number 3, not the second one, right? So basically the temperature difference across the black cylinder and the temperature difference across the outer coating is same. So when the potential difference is same, resistors are in parallel. In this case, when the temperature differences are equal, the cylinders are actually in parallel, right? So we are going to use the formula for parallel combination. 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2 is going to give 1 by RP, which is RP. Okay, right. So do we have the formula for R1? Yes, we have, which is L by K into area. This is L. K1 by the inner portion has the area pi r square plus L by K2, the area of the outside area pi into 2r square, the blue portion minus the inner area, which is 3 pi r square. Okay, so L by K2 into area is 3 pi r square, right, is equal to 1 by RP is L by K effective into area is pi into 2r square. So by calculations, easy calculations, we get K effective as K1 plus 3K2 divided by, definitely dear students, 4. This is how we calculate the effective value of thermal conductivity. Okay. See, we did a shortcut formula for doing the question based on frustum of a cone in solids. We have the same formula in thermal, we had the same formula in current electricity also. Suppose you have a conducting slab in the shape of frustum of a cone, okay, this radius being R1 and you know this radius being R2, length being L and coefficient of thermal conductivity being K. And suppose you are asked to calculate the effective thermal resistance of this frustum. See, if it would have been a cylinder, dear students, I am going to tell you a super beautiful shortcut. Okay. So, if it would have been a cylinder, you would simply write L by K into area. Since it is not a cylinder, it is a frustum. So, for the frustum, we use the shortcut. Instead of area, we write the root geometric mean of the area of two ends, right? This is going to be, you know, pi R1 square into pi R2 square. So, this thermal resistance is actually, you know, okay, this thermal resistance is L by K into pi R1 R2, right dear students? Okay, this was another question based on thermal conduction. Let us do the last problem based on thermal conduction. It is an easy question. Suppose you have two containers, right? One contains the steam at 100 degrees Celsius. This contains the steam at 100 degrees Celsius. Okay. And you have a conducting slab which is extracting the heat from this container, conductivity K, area A, and obviously length being L. It is attached in series with another conducting slab of, you know, of conductivity 2K, area 2A, and length being L. Okay. And the other conducting slab is immersed in an ice bath at 0 degrees Celsius. And obviously, as per our expectation, they are asking us to calculate the temperature of the junction, dear students. Okay. Obviously, we can use the section formula here, dear students, but let me solve this question with the help of a simple concept also, that since both these slabs are in series, we expect the current to be same in series. We expect the current to be same in series. Okay. So, current in the blue slab, heat current, not the electric current, is equal to the heat current in the slab 2. Heat current is actually the temperature difference by resistance. Okay. Temperature difference is 100 minus T. This is 100 degrees Celsius. Yes, it is. This is temperature difference by resistance. Resistance is, you know, L by K into area. And for this slab, heat current is temperature difference, which is T minus 0, divided by resistance, which is L by, okay, 2K times into 2A. Okay. We are going to cancel many things. This L A K. So, left hand side, the denominator of LHS becomes 1, easy to calculate, and this becomes, you know, 4T, I suppose. Is it? It is. 5T is equal to 100. So, we get the temperature of the junction as 20 degrees Celsius, dear students. Okay. So, temperature of the junction here will be 20 degrees Celsius, right? Kindly note down, dear students.